What's your name? How old are you? And where are you from?
My name's Gina. I'm 76 years old and I live in Melbourne, Australia.
Okay, and the big question is, how did you become an Elvis fan?
Well, that started in 1960. Yeah, when I was 12 years old. The kids at school were all talking about Elvis, and because my father was very strict and didn't allow rock and roll music and everything, things like that in the house, I'd heard of Elvis, everybody had, but I didn't know anything about him. And the kids at school were all talking about him in this movie, GI Blues. And I sort of started to get curious, and I said to Mum, "Will you take me to see this movie?" Because it was on locally. And she said, "Oh, well, I don't know." Anyway, she did. And when it started and Elvis came on the screen, you know that first image when he's in the tank and his face, blue eyes and everything. And I said, "Oh my God, wow, this guy is gorgeous." Because as the film went on and the girls in the theatre were screaming as they did in those days when Elvis came on the screen, and Mum was going, "We're going to get you out of here. This is awful. This is dreadful." I'm going, "No, no, no, Mum, we're staying. We're staying." And that was my first exposure to Elvis and
Yeah.
fell in love. And
So,
after that, yeah,
so what was it like? I have to ask you about Australia and Elvis coming to Australia a little bit. So what was that like? I mean, him being across the world and coming to Australia, like what was that phenomenon like of him coming there?
a really good question because it really makes me angry when people knock Elvis's films from the 60s. They were of their time, and if you weren't there then, you have no way of understanding. Um, Elvis made 3 films a year, and they'd come out, and they'd always be premiered at the biggest theatre in Melbourne. There'd be cardboard cutouts, placards, posters, everything. And the fans would be lined up around the street to get into the premiere. And we always, my girlfriends and I, always tried to get to the premieres. So they were big. And every movie, you would go in there to see Elvis. You'd be so happy to see him on the screen, to hear his voice, to watch him sing. And you'd come out and you'd be happy. Now, you go to a movie these days, it's all drugs, violence, murder, and it's horrible. And you come out really depressed, you know. But in those days, even if the sad movies like Flaming Star, you were seeing Elvis. And as you said, on the other side of the world, we didn't have him. All we had were the movies and the records and the books and magazines. So we loved all those movies, regardless of the storyline. It didn't matter. It was Elvis.
Fast forwarding a little bit, you had the opportunity to see Elvis in 1976. So can you set that up for me, like how that happened and what that was like?
Absolutely. Well, my husband at the time had a pen pal in San Francisco, and she wrote, this in 1976, and she wrote over to say, "Elvis is doing a concert here. Would you like to come over? I've got spare tickets. Come over and stay with us." Well, yeah, naturally. So long story short, we flew over there and stayed with Hetty and her husband. And on Sunday night, the concert was at the Cow Palace,
Oh.
and we didn't know where we'd be sitting. She said that they're good seats. I don't know exactly where they are, but they're good. Well, front row,
Oh my gosh. Oh
but
my
not,
gosh.
but not immediate front row. Now, do you know the Cow Palace Hall? Do you know anything about the
Uh-huh.
Cow
Yeah.
Palace? Well, with the stage was sort of at one end of the arena, and all the seats were sort of around. You know, there were seats, tiers of seats looking down the stage, plus the seats in front of the stage. So our seats weren't directly in front; they were on the side, but just around the corner from the front.
Mhm.
When Elvis was due to come on, the band was playing 2001, and there was a spotlight sort of roving. Everything went dark, spotlight roving over the stage, the theatre, the fans, and that. And it came over to where shone on where we were sitting and stopped. Elvis came out of a doorway at the end of the stage and he walked past us. I could have reached out and touched him. I nearly died. He was so good looking. I got my husband going, "Wait, it's Elvis. That's really Elvis." Because, I mean, all those years of just seeing him on a film and listening to his records. And there's the real person. I was just blew my mind. And he was so handsome, Diane. I mean, everybody says it. Tall, long legs, broad shoulders, suntan skin, long eyelashes, and his eyes were like sapphires. They were like a dark bluey green. Oh, and he said he had that walk and that swagger, and he got up on the stairs and he got up on the stage, and it was like all the air had been sucked out of the arena. You've got 16,000 people going. It was like God. He really did have an aura. And when I talked to Wayne, my ex-husband now, about it, our memories of it, and I said, I can't remember the band, the backing, the three inspirations, JD. I know they were all there,
Mhm.
but focus was on Elvis. I'm sure it was the same for everybody else, you know. And his voice was just, well, his looks were better than he looked better than what you think he's going to look, and his voice was better.
Yeah.
It's so powerful, so much emotion, and his fans, the way he sang to his fans, the love to them and from them to him, it just flowed back and forth, just amazing. And I'll tell you something that happened. Before we left, before we left Australia, I went to a professional photographer and I said, I'm going to see Elvis in concert. I don't know where I'll be sitting, whether it's at the front or out the back. And I said, I want to get some photos. And he said, well, first of all, you buy a decent camera. Don't take an Instamatic or something like that. You've got to buy a good camera. So I spent a couple $100 on a German Praktica camera with a telephoto lens, interchangeable lenses, and all that. And he said, don't use Kodak film. Nothing wrong with Kodak film for family snaps, but you use fast film like professional Ilford or Agfa. And he said, don't use a flash. He said, a flash will only illuminate the person in front of you or whatever. And he said, Elvis will be spotlighted, and he said, that will be enough. Well, I did that, and I've got that's my phone.
Yeah.
These are some of the photos. Let's see if I can get it.
Oh gosh. You'll have to send me some of those and I can add them into here.
Oh, wrong way. Oh, that's another one. Sorry.
Yeah. You'll have to. Oh wow. Oh, you got some good photos.
I did. And it was all due to this photographer telling me what to do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
When he was walking across the stage, he walked
Wow.
around the stage, to sing to his fans. He didn't stand in one spot. He'd sing to the people in front. Then he'd go over to the side, and then he'd go over to the other side, and then he'd turn around to sing to the people behind him because he knew his fans wanted to see him, and because the people were back unless he turned around. Well, he's walking over to where we were sitting, and you see that?
Wow.
Yeah. Hang on. I'm trying to line it up. Yeah. And I screamed. I wanted to get a good photo of him close up. So I screamed out, Elvis, I love you, at the top of the voice. And he heard me and he grinned at me, that beautiful smile. And he said, I love you too, honey. And I just melted. So that's when he walked across and where are you? Yeah. And that was when I got the close up of him
Oh
sort
my
of saying,
gosh.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. So that was, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, I'll never forget it. It's how lucky I am and
Yeah.
how incredible that a pen friend, to do that. Say,
Yeah.
come on over. Yep.
And the friend to not tell you you had front row seats is also amazing to like surprise
Absolutely. Well, it was sort of a bit of a long story because she'd actually had the tickets before she wrote to us. And because there was no internet or email back then, everything was by letter. And when we got her letter, we had to say, can we afford it? We booked the seats, get passports and organised and all that. So it took a while before we wrote back to her say, yes, we're coming. Because a month went by between the letters going from
Oh
between
yeah.
Melbourne and San Francisco. And she thought, oh, they're not going to come from Australia. So if you sold the tickets to someone else. And when she got our letter saying we're coming, she said to her girlfriend, she's, what am I going to do? These people are coming from Australia and I've got no tickets. Her
Oh my
girl
God.
was married to the manager of the San Francisco, the Cow Palace.
Oh,
And she told him, what am I going to do? And he said, there's what they call a box seats near the front where they put special guests and stuff. They weren't being used. So we got those box seats.
wow. That's lucky.
So
That's
really,
a
really
good person to
lucky.
be married to for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's an amazing, amazing experience. You really lucked out there for sure.
But
Uh,
not many people who saw Elvis in person.
yeah. So have you ever had an opportunity to go to Graceland?
No, well, in 1971, my husband and I, when I went to America for our honeymoon, and naturally, one of the first place we wanted to go to was Graceland. And it's January, Elvis was home, and we got to the gates, and Uncle Vesta was there, and we said we were from Australia, and he's like, I can't take you up to the house because Elvis is home. I mean, they didn't do house tours back then, but
Yeah.
if Elvis wasn't home, they'd take people up to take photos of the ground. So, he was up there, and we were at the gates. The president came here.
That's almost better. Like you get to hang out at the gates, you get to hang out with Uncle Vester. There were probably other fans there, like
It was just us because it was a freezing cold day of January. I
yeah.
don't remember if it was snowing, but no, it wasn't snowing, but it was cold. And he took our photo standing in front of the gates and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah, but
cool.
I've never been into Graceland.
And not to take it down a little bit, but do you remember, as you were saying after Elvis died, do you remember where you were when you found out Elvis had passed?
Oh, yeah. Ken, well, I was like, Wayne and I split up in February 1977, and I started going out with Ken. And in August, we were in Queensland, which I don't know, map of Australia. I'm down in Melbourne in Queensland. It's north, 2,000 miles, 1,000 miles north. We're on holiday with some friends of his. And it was because it was August the 17th in Australia, right? Because we were ahead of you. So people often say Elvis died on the 17th. No, he died 16th. Anyway, we came out, we were in a bedroom and we heard Elvis music in the kitchen in the morning. And I said to Ken, gee, I said, they're playing a lot of Elvis. It's not his birthday. I wonder why they're playing a lot of Elvis on this radio station. And we walked out of the kitchen and Ken's mate just said, the king is dead. Just like that, blunt, the king is dead. And my first thought that he'd been assassinated because, Elvis always had death threats and stuff. And I said, how did he die? And he said he had a heart attack. And I said, oh, but at least he wasn't killed. That was my greatest fear for him, that somebody would shoot him or do America being late. Sorry, you're American.
I get it.
Yeah, all the shootings and stuff. Yeah. And Ken looked at me. He thought I was going to go hysterical, and I was numb. I was completely numb, and I said, "Oh, okay." And I said, "What are we doing today, Ken?" He said, "We're going out for a drive." I said, "Okay." And I was just completely numb. And it wasn't until probably the last few years that I cried about it. I just couldn't get over it. After seeing him and so alive and so vibrant, and to think he was dead. Didn't compute for a long time. Yeah.
But so you currently have an Elvis YouTube channel. So can you tell me about your YouTube channel and what it's called?
Yeah, okay. Patrick Cat's Place for Elvis fans. Now that started out about 20 years ago. I started a channel mostly to show my hobbies, quilting and patchwork, embroidery, colouring in, all that sort of art and craft stuff. And I discovered a couple of years ago there's a lot of Elvis on YouTube. And I started looking into that and seeing what people did. And I thought, oh, I can do that. And it was originally all on my own channel, like the one channel. And then somebody put a comment on saying, what do you got all this other stuff on your channel for? I didn't want to see Elvis. So, okay. So I sort of moved everything across. And so I got Patrick Cat's Place, the original one, and Patrick Cat's Place for Elvis fans. And what I do is review books, records, CDs, and anytime I get anything new, I put it on there. I do a flip through the books because I've noticed, you see what other people do and see what works, There's a lot of channels out there, they criticise stuff, and they have a go at Priscilla, and they talk about Lisa Marie. And my ex-husband, I was talking to him recently, and I said, ask him about Lisa's book, and he said, I'm not interested in that. Not interested in Priscilla, not interested in Lisa. I'm an Elvis fan. I'm only interested in Elvis. And I thought, he's right. I'm the same. I've got no interest in anything else, just Elvis. So that my channel is just Elvis. No Priscilla, no Lisa, nothing else. Sorry, but that's me.
Yeah. So how would your life be different if Elvis wasn't in it?
Between 1977 and 2023, my life didn't have Elvis at all.
Oh.
Because after he died, I assumed that was the end. There can be no more records, no more movies, there's no Elvis. So I thought, well, that's the end. And I split up from my husband and I got married again. And my second husband, Ken, and I, we were married for 43 years. And Ken didn't mind Elvis. If there's a movie on TV, he'd say, Gina, Elvis is on TV. Oh, okay. And he was real proud of the fact that I had a scarf from the concert. And he'd tell people, Gina got a scarf from the Elvis concert. But other than that, we had a lot. He was into motorcycle racing. He raised Australian birds, and we had a whole lot of interest, nothing to do with Elvis. So Elvis is sort of in the background, I suppose, in there. I never stopped loving him, but wasn't actively involved in anything. And then when Ken died 2.5 years ago, it left a huge void in my life, and I thought, I've got no one to love, And that's when I started seeing Elvis on YouTube, and I thought, I can find Elvis again, and that's what's happened. So yeah,
that's beautiful.
So that's it. Yeah.
I love it. My last question to you is, what does being an Elvis fan mean to you today?
Well, it means a lot because when my husband was alive, I had my soulmate and didn't need anyone else. But now he's gone. As I said before, I said such a void in my life. And while I didn't actually look for Elvis, I started seeing him everywhere online and remembered how much I loved him when I was younger. So I've made contact with other fans in the suburb where I live. And I've re-established contact with my ex-husband after 43 years. He's married. That's fine. We're not, in a relationship, but we're friends. And it's great. It's great to just talk about Elvis. Like after you, I've got 2 friends coming around here to look at some books and stuff that I've got. And I've got another girlfriend coming around for dinner. We'll be watching an Elvis movie. So, yeah. he's really a big part of my life now. So
I love it.
sorry.
Well, this is a really beautiful conversation, and I really love like the love you have for him is palpable, and even across the world, like he's still touching people every day, and I just love how you described him and who he was as a person. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for talking to me today.
Thanks a lot, Diane. Lovely to talk to you.